are live on Instagram tonight, so we have fixed that issue from our preview show. Welcome to everyone all over social media, no matter where you are joining us. This is our round 19 NRL recap show, where we'll break down the action and talk about how it played into our best bets from a little bit of a different angle as well. To that end, let me welcome in the ever so beautiful Jacob Wynn. My friend, how are you?
I'm glad we're back on Instagram. Reason we're a few seconds slow off the mark, I've got to pop up that we don't have a premium account on Twitter, so we're not live on Twitter. I don't think many people do watch on the TryPod Twitter account, but you can, so there you go. And look, mate, although someone commented today and told me that this weekend's results were unacceptable, going 2-2, I mean, a 2-2 round where we also hit a mixed matchup at $3 odds and we also hit a same game at $17 odds, I can actually accept that.
100%, mate. The Hello Sport boys also just saying, they sent me a message on Instagram and said that was a beauty. Absolutely awesome hit there at $17 odds. All right, mate, let's jump straight into it. Recap for us. What were the best bets? How did they go?
I'll go game by game. I'll mention them. There was only 5, and we said we've got a pod tomorrow, obviously, so we'll make this one a Swifty.
Perfect, mate. Well, my Clarkey's collect did go bang. We'll talk about that in the Titans game there. Thursday night, Dolphins beat the Rabbitohs 36 points to 28. And I came into this game thinking either side 1-12 would be my play. And to be honest, I was a little bit lucky to get that tip right with a Jacob Gagai try coming in the final minute. It got us the line back. And you have to think anyone that backed Dolphins 13 plus was so frustrated watching that one. But I happen to know people who were more frustrated. And that's Rabbitohs backers due to the goal kicking. This game ends six tries apiece. It was a horror show with the conversions. And I mean, Cody Walker, I saw him laughing after his first attempt because it was so bad and it just missed by miles. But from that point on, there was nothing funny about it. The goal kicking absolutely cost him winning. And that's my only takeaway. You know, usually we finish a footy game, we say the better side won. I'm not sure who the better side is between these. I just know the Dolphins kick goals better. If this game did, have relatively even goal-kicking stats, and it went to Golden Point, I don't know who the better side was. That's my takeaway, mate. How did you see it all?
So just with regards to, the 1-12, I mean, you brought that up. Great call. I missed that one. I would have never usually seen a game with a line this short be able to pay $1.85 for either team 1-12. And by me missing that, I missed what would have been a winning best bet because I really liked that pick. Just to clarify, though, that Jacob Gagai try, it was unconverted like most of the tries all night. So it would have actually still been 12. It didn't affect the final margin, right? But the South did score a couple late, but it definitely hurt me because I tell you the truth, on Tuesday, I knew I was going to play South, so I saw it as a 50-50. The line was like 2.5 everywhere that I'd seen, and I was going to play the half-try handicap, knowing that Cody Walker can't kick goals. It's only that then I saw a 4.5 available at a couple places, and at that point, you figure if you score the same number of tries, even with inferior goal kicking, 4.5 points is better than plus half a try generally. But of course, Zarko's curling him in from the sidelines. He goes 6 of 6, and Cody Walker misses 2. Pretty makeable. Hands over the reins to Tane Milne, and Tane Milne misses 2. I think I've got that right. Anyway, the Rabbitohs missed 4 of 6. So, a bad goal-kicking team might only make, 3 of 6, but South's made 2 of 6. A good goal-kicking team might kick 5 out of 6, but the Dolphins kicked them all, of course, and I lost. And, last time I backed the Dolphins at home, Bostock was ruled out 5 minutes in. This time I'm against the Dolphins, Bostock has a screamer. Last time, Herbie has his worst game of the season. This time, Herbie's awesome, and he has a barge over try. And to me, I think it was a pretty even game. Like you said, 6 tries each. That Tane Milne missed opportunity. Souths can't find touch when they get a penalty at a crucial stage. But I'm not willing to say, Souths was a great bet. Souths should have won. I think Souths led into a couple of tries that were just too soft. And I talked about the Herbie Farnworth. Nothing's on there. They turn the ball underneath, and he sees a little bit of space and goes for it. And similarly, Tavita Pangai Jr. just scored a barge over try, which you just can't give up if you're in a desperation spot. And that would probably be my last point about the Dolphins. TPJ's been a great mid-season pickup. Bennett's trusted him, and he really is impacting games in a positive way for the Finns. And it was a huge win. I said before the game, can't see these both making the finals, but a huge step in the right direction for the Dolphins, who had struggled in the last month of footy.
Yeah, very important win for the Dolphins there. I agree with that. Let's move on to Friday night, mate. Sharks beat the Tigers 58 points to 6. And I came into this one, Winnie, tipping Sharks the line and Mulatalo try. Well, the Sharks more than cover that line, and Mulatalo scores a hat trick. And when that happens, I always kind of stop and think, why was I so cautious? Like, why didn't I take a little bit more risk with that? But that's, that's just Murphy's Law, I suppose, sometimes. And a really bad showing by the Tigers. I don't think that's an expert take. It just reminded me of the Roosters game. Like, this is a side that if they're in the hunt and they're not going too bad, they'll continue to fight on. But they're just outclassed in both of those games across the entire park and couldn't find a way back into it at all. I think anytime you concede a try in the first 2 minutes, danger signs. But the issue is they also conceded a try in the final 2 minutes. And I think that really shows that the Sharks were dominant from start to finish here and did play out the 80 minutes a lot better. 13 line breaks to 2. They ran 800 more meters. They broke 42 tackles to the 16 that the Tigers broke. And, of course, a sin bin for the Tigers as well, which has just become a really common point in their last, I want to say 5 or 6 games going back now. It feels like they've got someone in the bin. Tough for the Tigers. I mean, someone could turn around and say it was an unfair sin bin, but when you lose by 52 points, no one's going to really want to hear that argument. How do you see this one, mate?
It was an unfair sin bin, and that's, that was in favour of my best bet, but Appy's square and knocks the ball out clean. However, the ref felt bad about it because a little bit later, Aiden Caesar is laying on the ground in the tackle, knows exactly what he's doing when he stretches his leg out and kicks the ball to dislodge it from the dummy half. And the ref gave a penalty, but that was a cynical professional foul that could have been a sin bin. But I think they realised they screwed the Tigers earlier on. In any case, the Sharkies were my best bet here. That's fine. -6.5. Don't have to be great at maths to figure out if we covered there. I felt really confident about this one. And I think that there's a takeaway for me that I want to share about this game. When you do feel really confident about a bet, like sometimes you just go into a weekend like that bet is just a great bet. I feel really good about it. And sometimes there's a temptation to put a bit more on. Oh, like I really like this bet, I should put more on. For sure, you want to have your bigger stakes on when you're more confident. But I would suggest if you're really confident a bet is going to win, what you want to do is bet the more extreme variations or derivatives of that bet. So if you really like Sharks -6.5 and it was moving to 7.5, it closed 8.5, like 13 plus was a good bet, which was around $2.50. I was looking at the alt lines, 30 plus, $7 or more, 22 plus, about $4.50. And it was a good game to pick some same gamers. And in fact, I did give out a $17 same game winner. And I picked Kale Ero from the, I think he's a Cook Islands representative, where he really caught my eye. And I think he's a promising first grader outside back. And someone brought up the stat he's only scored 1 in 15. I didn't realize it was that slim pickings for him in first grade. But in any case, didn't have to wait long. Scored 3 minutes into this one. Had Sharkies to win both halves and Tigers to never lead. And I guess you needed a conversion to be made for the first try because the Tigers did strike back to 6-all. But even the Tigers' first try, I thought it was just perfect, like perfect timing. Who was it? Fainu just half breaks a tackle, gets an arm free, offload, perfect timing. Buller, he's met by a defender, offload. And I was like, I'm not worried at all. Like that was absolutely perfect. I don't even feel like the Sharks really did anything wrong defensively there and were never threatened again. At 18-6, near the end of the first half, the Tigers were camped on the Sharks line. If the Tigers score there, do they have some sort of belief? Instead, eventually they throw an intercept. It's a length of the field try to Cronulla, and then you knew the Sharkies would name their score, which was also pretty exciting for those in the group because we had a group member, Kyle Gordon, who contributes a lot of great tips and some value plays, who brought up Titans 51 plus in the Saturday game against Para and why that was a good bet at 150-1. And I said, I really like that thinking. And I'm looking at that for tonight's game with the Sharks. And so it's not like an official play. It's not going to go down in pod history, tipping 150-1. But nevertheless, a bunch of people got on thanks to that thread. They replied in the comments. I had people messaging me. And I always know there's plenty more people that have seen it and got on that didn't message or comment as well. So that's, that was pretty fun. Sharks won by 52 points. And look, I just have to have a little whinge here, mate, because a month ago I had to cop so much bloody grief for, why would you take the Titans against the Tigers? You don't know, like the Titans are no good. The Tigers are better than you think. And it's like, as I said at the time, the Titans dominated that game for 60 minutes and should have should have won by 20 or 30, and it's only because the Titans refused to put the Tigers away that West came back, and everyone's they showed hard at Leichhardt. And since then, all Wests have done is got flogged each and every week. And since then, all the Titans have done is had a club record victory, upset Cronulla away, and took care of business yesterday. So it's like, I think we can all agree now, if the Titans played the Tigers, even if it was in Sydney, -3.5 for the Titans wouldn't be a bad bet. But it feels like some of these teams, I'm not seeing it as wrong as everyone made out. It's just that given week, it wasn't to beat.
Yeah, right bet. Unlucky timing, I think it could be argued. Let's move to the Titans game. So Saturday afternoon, Titans beat the Eels 24 points to 16. Before I start my breakdown of this game, Winnie, was Clarkey's collect? I can't remember. Did I add Dave Fafita for the try in that, or did I just say the line on our preview show?
No, I thought you had Fafita in that. So you threw me when you said you won, because I've added that in the record as a loss. I think you had Fafita to score.
Yeah. I said it. I was reading my notes, and my notes had Titans at the line from the preview show. But then when I was doing my notes here, I was like, I swear I added in Fafita. So my apologies, guys. Clarkey collect doesn't actually hit. I went a bit too audacious there and added in the Fafita leg. But yeah, regardless, Titans here flex their premiership muscle. No, I'm joking. They cover that line ever so slightly. I think when you start this game, the Titans went up 18-0 at the 20-minute mark. The Eels weren't off their game at that point. So I always felt like a comeback was still a live chance for a side that's desperate to avoid the spoon. And they did show a lot of fight. But as this game continued, I really felt like it was just the Titans that parked the bus in the last 20, which is probably reflective of something that I've actually noticed this year and a lot more than others. I think what separates the top 8 sides right now, or the top 6 sides really, and everyone else that's kind of in that logjam competing for the last spots in the 8, it isn't so much a skill thing, a coaching tactics thing, a stronger roster thing. I think it just comes down to those sides that are at the bottom cannot compete for the full 80. They've always got small lapses or periods. And for the Titans, it was their last 20 where they clock off. They don't have the same intent, focus, miss tackles, go for silly offloads, whatever it might be. I think that really is the only difference between, most of these sides in the top 6, you're going to get an 80-minute performance out of them. So you've got to be perfect for 80 minutes or close enough. That's why we see a lot of sides step up, Winnie, and put in their best efforts. And then when they go and verse their own similar level of competition, all of a sudden we see these patches like we saw with the Titans here, where I thought the last 20 minutes, they parked the bus. They didn't play footy anymore. That's how I saw it, mate. Unfortunately, Clarkey's collect does suffer a loss, which sucks and is contrary to my notes that I've got in front of me right here, mate. But how do you see this one?
But people can rest assured, because I know people are sticklers when it comes to adding wins and losses. I recorded that one as a loss, and you're still a positive +11. That's to the nearest full unit. You're like +10.6 something. Anyway, this was another best bet win. I took Titans -5.5. In fairness, at the time on Tuesday, it had also gone to 6.5 in a lot of places, if you want to call it a consensus 6.5. But by Saturday, the line was 8.5. So when you say the Titans covered the line, yes, they did. They covered the line that was available all week. But if you bet on game day, you actually lost. And if I'm going to say that goal kicking cost us on Thursday night, I suppose it's fair to mention that Jaden Campbell kicked him pretty well in this game. And we won by 8. So we covered by 2.5. So we could have suffered maybe one missed conversion. But on a different day, that could have gone against us and we may not have covered. So again, it is important to get the best line available. And even if you had taken -6.5, you had a winner. And if you took it on game day, you lost, which would be pretty disappointing, as you said, after the Titans did jump out to 18-0. My same gamer on Dabble, my Winnie's Kitchen, I had Titans -4.5. I had Khan Pereira to score in the first hour, but I had Cleese Haas to score, and we got stitched up there. His name, starting right second rower. Then Sami and Brimson are brought in on game day, and Fermor is shifted to the forward pack, and Haas plays off the bench and plays some middle. But, I mean, Fermor didn't score at right edge, back rower anyway. So, I've just got a cop. I didn't win that one there. But this set us up on our way to win the mixed matchup, as well as I said, the best bet. And I thought the blowout was really on, as when you jumped out to that lead. It's worth mentioning at 18-0, the Titans gift the Eels a try, which maybe gave Para some belief, where I think it was a Brimson forcing an offload 10, 15 metres out from his own try line, and Para picks it up and scores. And Para actually made a game of this. I mean, Para had a conversion late, like with, let's say, 5 to go, that if they make that, they cut it to a 6-point game. So Para was very pesky, and the Titans, I agree, seemed to just sleepwalk through the final 20. Like they felt like they had it won, but it wasn't quite won because Para was knocking on the door, and a little, drop ball or a little defensive error by Titans, this could have got a lot closer, and we could have got backdoored here. So I'm thankful that that wasn't the case. We hold on and cover that line.
Titans just hang on to cover our line on Tuesday night, but as you mentioned, it did actually blow out further towards against their favour on game day. We had another game on Saturday night, guys, where the Dragons beat the Broncos 30 points to 26. And this is actually the first tip I got wrong this week.
Let me just interrupt you. You've got the wrong score on the thumbnail, but it also... Oh, sorry. It was 30 to 26. Sorry, for some reason... I don't know what I was thinking. I thought the Dragons had one more try than that. But I think what I threw myself out was with the mixed matchup. I'll just repeat what it was. I took the 3 underdogs that I was fading. So Tigers, Eels, and Dragons to combine for 60 or less. And coming into this game, I needed the Dragons under 38. And when the Dragons got to 28, with like half an hour to go, I was worried, and I was like, the Dragons are going to get in the 30s. But as you correctly said, it was 30 to 26 to St. George, so don't blow up at us that the thumbnail has it the wrong way around.
Yep, 30 to 6 to St. George. I just messed up the thumbnail in a rush to get here for the show. I can't remember what my tip was here. It was either Broncos head-to-head or at the line, but ultimately it doesn't matter, right? It's a loss. They failed to win at Suncorp in a game that really they had to win. I think what stands out for me most stemming from this loss is the Broncos now have the same competition points as the Rabbitohs and the Titans. And, those two teams and clubs have copped a lot worse criticism throughout, this whole year, really. Onto the contest itself, though, just disastrous. And the reason why I wanted the Broncos was mainly because of the desperation of needing to win. You're at home as well. Saturday night, you can expect a big, loud crowd. But coming into this season, the Dragons have lost their last 11 in a row without Ben Hunt, largely around that origin period. Well, they've actually won their last 2 without Ben Hunt, one against the Panthers, one against the Broncos, which is last year's grand finalists. So I think that there is really good evidence for Dragons fans that things are turning under Shane Flanagan. You get to halftime in this game, it's 6 to 22. It was clear the Broncos had a huge mountain to climb in the second half to possibly save their season. To their credit, they did show some fight, but to be devil's advocate, good sides don't find themselves in this position with the season on the line. They wouldn't have been down by that at halftime. I believe this probably does mark the end of the road for the Broncos. Even at full strength, let's say they all come back and they're full strength 1 to 17. They just don't have that championship kind of mindset that they had last year, particularly on the defensive side of things. So I'm prepared their season is probably over at this stage, Winnie. How do you see this specific contest, though?
Billy played well, though. Billy did play well. Yeah, Billy Walters played well. I don't know if you saw Kevy got that wasn't a good look. He got a little bit overly defensive in the press conference when someone suggested that Brisbane looked good when Blake Moser came on in the second half. I heard someone else cruelly call this the nepotism cup, with both coaches having sons in the starting lineup, and it seemed like a good start for Kevy. His son Billy actually scored Brisbane's opening try. Kyle Flanagan was missing a couple of conversions, but obviously Flano gets the last laugh there, and St. George built a lead. I want to say St. George, the lead got up to like 28-6. At some point, St. George did add a penalty goal to that. My best bet was Brisbane -5.5. So although the Dragons stayed under for the mixed matchup, that's a disappointing end to the weekend for my bets. So I'm not going to make too much of a point about how Brisbane's nowhere near the side as last year, because I backed them myself. But I do have to say, again, a team that I've copped so much heat for criticising this year, and I said it's not sustainable. Brisbane's not going to get the other team dropping the ball in their lap, throwing them intercepts, spilling the ball 20 out when they're about to score and take it back the other way, which Brisbane did time after time. And I'm not going to go and screenshot the comments, but I had multiple people telling me, you don't understand how Brisbane plays. That's what they do. They score a lot of long-range tries. They've got these athletes. Where are all these tries now, though? Like I said 2 months ago, if you know better than me, then just back Brisbane every week. Stop giving me a hard time after the pods that, I tipped Brisbane. I don't know what I'm talking about. Just back Brisbane every week. It's not going to work out well for you. And Brisbane has not covered a line for 7 straight games. Brisbane has one win in that time period where they won by 1 point and got a pretty handy call against a Manly team with no turbo. And Brisbane has lost 6 straight games. And they clearly are a team spread a bit thin. I thought there'd be a greater level of desperation. That was what I was really banking on. And the Suncorp factor, I couldn't see Brisbane losing 4 straight games at home. But there's a couple of tries that, like the Sully try, where he just brushes past Jordan Ricky, like that's such poor defending. So I don't know if Ricky's just been out too long. I think it's clear that Brisbane's spread very thin with the depth available to them. And of course, 4 Origin players are out. So you said the Dragons have beaten last year's grand finalists. Fortunate enough to catch them both in Origin weeks. But again, that's why Ben Hunt was out too. But you get that's try, which is just Brisbane's own fault, not strong enough defensively, not strong enough to defend their own errors. So Brisbane made several errors and then couldn't keep St. George out. And last year, the Broncos were giving themselves a chance in every game. Yes, the attack was explosive, but the defense was elite too. So we know there's no Reece Walsh and there's no Adam Reynolds right now, and Cobbo wasn't there, etc. But the defense still should be better. You know what I mean? That's the other issue, that why this team is not the same as they were last year. Again, I talked about how Brisbane scored a lot of tries this year from opponent errors. And in this game, the shoe's on the other foot. Tristan Saylor drops a regulation bomb and it's straight into the lap of Sewer, isn't it? And he scores. And that's 6 points gifted. I also thought Brisbane was unfortunate. There's a Tuipulotu put down where I really didn't see a grounding. But there was also a Tuipulotu try, maybe it was the same one, where it came off the back of a very obvious Dragons error. The Dragons made a little break on 4th or 5th tackle and threw a forward pass, or if you want to say he lost it 2 meters forward, and then Brisbane picked it up and dropped it, and the knock-on call was against Brisbane. The error by St. George completely missed, and the Dragons scored that set. And all of this compounded and put too many points on the board for St. George that Brisbane couldn't run down. Although, as Colt mentions, it wasn't for lack of trying from Katoni Staggs, who did go beast mode for a couple of tries there, but it just comes back to Brisbane couldn't defend well enough to deserve to win or to deserve to cover. And you talked about for the season. So the maths is going to say that Brisbane needs to win 5 of the final 7, and that's only going to get them on the cusp. That's going to get them right on the cutoff point, where sometimes you make the 8 with 12 wins, sometimes you don't. So 6 out of 7 Brisbane would need to be sure they'll get in, is what I'm going to suggest. And Brisbane have got games like next week at Newcastle. They've got a game in North Queensland against the Cowboys. I believe they might have Melbourne later. They've got games where kind of on paper you're kind of going, well, they're still winnable games, but the way this Brisbane's team is playing, they wouldn't be winning those games. So I'm not going to write off the Broncos because they're going to get 4 stars back after Origin, and Reynolds might not be done this year either. But it definitely will be an uphill battle. It's against the odds that Brisbane will make the 8 from here. And I talked about staring at that 280 to miss the 8 2 weeks ago. And someone else commented that 3 weeks ago, Brisbane was $6 to miss the 8, which I think was also $6 or $7 was also a price I was looking at pre-season, because I warned people that I didn't see Brisbane as a top 4 side this year. At this point, they're probably not going to make the 8.
And I think the other factor for the Broncos is every other team in the comp loves beating them. The Sydney Morning Herald did a player poll a few years ago, and I think it was like 56% of the players said the Broncos are their favorite team to beat. I think a lot of the players feel they get some favorites in terms of the draw and scheduling always being Friday night Broncos and stuff. So, if there's half a sniff that a side that is 14th and can't even play finals, if they know they can in the Broncos season, they'll take something out of that and got them 100%. So it's going to be a really tough road.
There's something to be said for that. Now,
trying to make final game of the rounds.
5 years time from now, sorry to interrupt, but in 5 years time or whenever it is, when Penrith finally drops off and when Penrith shows, weaknesses, everybody will go in on them extra hard. And with the fall off could be quite dramatic when Penrith finally don't have, because everyone will be like, you've smashed us for a decade straight. We're going to get you back now. Like when the mighty fall, people do remember that you're the team that was punishing them last year, like Brisbane was in most games, pummeling everyone. You're absolutely right that when you show signs of weakness, people are extra motivated to, knock you off and return the favor.
100%. The mental side goes into it so much in a competition that's usually so even. But this game wasn't. The Seagulls beat the Knights 44 points to 6. And I didn't know how this game would go. You and I spoke prior, and I said, because I just couldn't find anything I liked from a betting angle. On the show, I tipped Manly head-to-head. That was short odds, nothing special there. Just said, I'll go the favourites to be safe here. And coming in, really, the only thing we knew about these two sides and what we can expect is that Manly are dominant at Brookvale on Sunday afternoons. And that's certainly what played out, but I honestly didn't see it playing out to this extent. When I looked at this Knights side, I thought from the get-go they lacked go forward. I'd love to see what their meters and post-contact meters were. Most of my question marks around this side was actually their defensive kind of cohesion out wide with back rowers playing in the centres and new combos between the wingers. But really, if you have two extra forwards playing centres, it should almost help you with your go forward, you would think. Some larger bodies to start those sets, but that certainly wasn't the case. Manly were really brilliant on both edges. The way they shifted the ball so seamlessly to their wingers was really, really nice to watch. And they're a side that love afternoon footy. I just feel like that Manly wouldn't get that same ball on a Friday night in Melbourne, for example, where it's dewy, a bit more wet on the ball, etc., etc. I thought Jamie Humphries was really good. He slotted in seamlessly on that right side there. It also helps having Luke Brooks there. Like, he didn't have an incredible game here, and the stats won't show that he was too special, but he still steered this side around the park and used all of the experience that he has from playing 7 at the Tigers for so many years. Great work by Manly here. They're going to press on toward the finals. I know all the possibility to make the 8, but my question mark now, Winnie, is for the Knights. Now, I don't think they win this game even if they are full strength, and Manly had that same side. That's how poor they played. And the bad habits that were throughout this game for the 80 minutes, I think they started last week against the Raiders in the second half. And so whilst this is a horrible loss here for the Knights, and most people will probably go, Knights to rebound next week at home, they've got the Broncos. I don't actually know if they can rebound, because this is a really poor effort backed by a really poor second half the week before, where they were probably lucky to cover the line against the Raiders. So I've got a lot more question marks on the Knights coming out of this one than I had coming in, despite the roster changes, mate. I want to know, how did you see it, though?
In a way, the Knights lost this game with the origin selections, didn't they? With Ponga getting that earlier return and then straight catapulted into the Queensland team. And we know Gagai and Best. And as for Manly, Olakuatu's overlooked. Turbo's not quite ready. There's better options there. Having said that, I had the opportunity to bet on Manly on Tuesday, but I thought that line had moved, well and truly far enough to be at 7.5, 8.5. We did give you that winner last Sunday when I had Nicole joining me. Nicole, pointed out that game and talked about how appealing Manly -1.5 looked, or pick 'em, as Ryan says that he grabbed. But I still expected a more competitive game than this, clearly. I think my words on Tuesday was, if the line was 5.5, I play Manly, and if it was 10.5, I play Knights. So I should be here saying I'm lucky that line didn't get to 10.5 on Tuesday, because then I'd look silly, because the Knights never had a hope. Manly were so entertaining today. I talk about them again. I don't want to take away from Manly. First try is a forward pass by 5 meters. It does kind of annoy me that, again, like that Cowboys game against Manly, there's a try that's not even forward that's called forward, but yet the refs can miss one that's 5 meters forward, and both of those go in Manly's favour. Not that it has any bearing on the result today, but Manly are a bit of a bully, aren't they? Like, when the opponent is a bit down on energy, it doesn't have momentum, Manly can pile it on as good as any team in the comp and look as good as any, and it's entertaining to watch. Manly play a positive brand. They've got very athletic outside backs. They'll give them opportunities in space, and we've seen it many times. If they can get enough space for Saab to get down the sideline, it's a great opportunity every time, and there's quick players inside backing up. What about the skill from Hopewadi on that crossfield kick from Brooks with the no-look pass back inside? Like, it was brilliant to watch. All the outside backs for Manly cashed in. 4-point game, as I said, on the NRL ladder, it's hard to see both these teams getting in the 8, but Manly takes a big step forwards and, plus 38 in the points differential column for them and minus 38 for the Knights as well. So how Newcastle responds is going to be fascinating because they need the game next week at home to Brisbane as nearly as badly as Brisbane do. So it's an exciting kind of final stretch of the comp with all these teams. Like Manly still, just because they look good today, can easily drop a game here or there and still miss the 8 too. Like nobody's really comfortable. And yet, if someone gets hot, someone could still sneak up and get 4th as well. So it's like all to play for at this point. But Manly's got to be very pleased navigating a part of the season, which is often hard on them because they are a bit of a top-heavy team. You've got both Origin captains, in this side. And so to get the wins during these Origin weeks is even more valuable.
100%. And the other thing for Manly is they had that draw earlier this year, mate. So they've got the 1 point differential on the ladder, which could come back to bite them.
Actually. So then their 4 points differential may not matter unless Manly was to draw again. But it would still matter to Newcastle, in another game. But you're right, actually. Who did Manly draw with? Was it Warriors?
Warriors, yeah, in New Zealand.
Warriors are unlikely to kind of come back and finish on level points with Manly, but I guess it's not impossible. With New Zealand getting a couple of wins to keep themselves alive too.
100%. Like this NRL season is postured perfectly for a fun run home where every single game is going to matter in terms of what sides bring. Some sides will have some down spots, but mostly we'll have sides that are, energized and playing for competition points that actually matter. So it's a really, really fun run home, and we'll be previewing it for you every single week. We'll also be back tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. for our Origin Decider preview show. We'll be joined by Nicole from Wiki like we were in Game 1, and we'll have all of our best bets, try scorers, Wally Lewis medal. We will break it down for you from every single angle. It'll be at 5:30 p.m. live all over social media, and we really hope you can be there because Winnie has offered to give away $1,000 live.
Yeah, right. What about we give away your shirt? That was my idea. Or we might have to save that. Save that for something else we've got cooking up. But look, last game, Clarkey had his same gamer win at $10 odds. Clarkey's picked the winner in every Origin that we've previewed, which is 5 in a row, and I think the underdog winner in at least 3 of them. So with a pick'em decider, it doesn't get any better than that. And that's the game everybody's going to be thinking about now. But it is also worth mentioning there's another game in another sport that is kicking off in about under 12 hours time that a few pod followers will also have their eye on, and that is the Euro final. I picked the winner of the Euros 3 years ago with Italy. I have picked England this year, much to the shock and amusement of many people who told me all the reasons why England had absolutely no chance to find themselves in the final. So let us know, is it coming home? I hope it is for those who jumped on the 475 with me, and I will be up 5 a.m. I think it is to watch them take on Spain. But then, of course, I'll be preparing for our Game 3 preview with Nicole, and can't wait to share what we've got for that. Mitchell Moses, 200-1. Wally Lewis, still very much in play too. Thanks to everyone who tuned in with us tonight, including yourself, mate. Your time is valuable as always. And go England tomorrow. I hope it is coming home, and we'll see you in under 24 hours for Origin 3. Lego.